Welcome to another edition of Conversations of the Heart. As always, it is your boy T Till. We have a very, very special guest in the building today. A returner of the show. He has been on the show a couple of times. I think it's been a couple of years though since we recorded last.
It's been about 2, 3 years.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome back, Jamal Williams. He is a versatile actor, who career, spans television, film, commercials, and theater. He's really known for, commanding his on-screen presence, right? He has starred in major roles and on major networks, such as Starz, VH1, BET, and TV1, where his performances have solidified his reputation as a rising talent in the industry. And he is an actor extraordinaire. I'm glad, appreciative to call him a friend, a brother, and a friend of the show. Please welcome back Jamal to the show. Welcome back, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I know I was gonna get that type of introduction.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, 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 yeah. No, I mean we got to give you what you deserve because you've been on fire, not
I
fire.
appreciate that.
You've
I
been on
appreciate
fire.
it.
I've been watching. You know, what I'm saying just what you've been doing. Super proud of you, and very proud of all of the, the projects that you've been a part of. From theater. You know, what I'm saying to commercials, and sometimes you don't even tell me, and I'm like, wait a minute, that oh he working, he working. You know, what I'm
Hey
saying
man,
so it's a grind. You know, what I'm saying, but
it's a grind. You know, you put your head down and just keep pushing forward. And occasionally sometimes you look up and you're like, oh cool, I just did that, or I see myself in something. But most of the time, man, I'm kind of like locked
mhm.
in, bro. Just trying to make sure everything is getting, all the check marks are getting hit, all the boxes are getting ticked. Make sure if this whole movement is going in the right direction.
Absolutely. And you are not just a rising star, you have arrived. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? You
I
like
appreciate it. I
you are
appreciate it.
here, brother. Um and piggybacking off of our last conversation, me and you just got on the phone and like you said, "Yo, I gotta come back on." And you said, I got some updates, and some things I want to discuss. And of course, you always a friend here. And the last thing, well, one of the last things that we talked about on our show that we did a few years ago was grief. Um, and it was right after like your father passed. And when you told me then you wanted to do the show, I was like, you sure? I think I asked you, I was like, you sure? Like right now? Right? He's like, yeah, let's do it. And unfortunately, we do have that in common. And so definitely a safe space here. It's been a few years. But before we get into that, for the people who don't know you, you know what I'm saying, for the people who are new, who are, you are new to them, please just give them a little bit of backstory about yourself, who you are, and how you came into acting, um, and what you about.
Man, it's so difficult to talk about yourself in like a streamlined way and just giving facts, 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 facts. But yeah, man, I'm from Richmond, Virginia, originally. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
get these words together. But no, I'm from Richmond, Virginia, and so I did a lot of stuff as a young person there, and I think that's kind of where I really got started. And um, I really got the bug for this whole business, this the entertainment, the music, the acting, all of that. When I was young, and my parents and my mom got me into music as a young person. So I started recording music when I was like 12 years old. So that's kind of how I got this whole thing started, or even had in my mind that I could even do something like this. Um, and you know how it goes, man. You pick something up and you put it down for a few years, and it's one of those things that stays on your back. So keep coming back at you, man. And so I think a few years ago, as an adult, I answered the call again, and I moved around a bit, working in entertainment. And
Mhm.
New York is the latest place I've been for the past, few years, and working here and really trying to make something, trying to make those dreams I've had as a young person coming to fruition. And like I always say, man, I'm the dude at the post office, at the dude that worked at the bank with you that wasn't scared to go after what he wanted to do.
Mm.
And I want to be that person, the inspiration to people that's like, man, I hate this job. Is it something else I can do? Now the thing is, I ain't saying become an actor because it's difficult. But
Hmm.
you know, if it's some other endeavor you wanted to pursue in life, and you're like, man, I don't know, I'm just this is where I am for life, man. Use me as an example of a person that's been in a certain space and it has migrated another space, and you know, you can always pivot for real, for real.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's the biggest thing, man. You can always pivot, and so with my pivot, you know, I put a lot of work in on the back end with training and making sure that I was taking the amount of classes and enrolling with good coaches and professionals to make sure, you know, because a lot of people get into this, say to me, you know, I want to be an actor. I'm like, cool, you taking classes? They're like, no, I'm a natural. I'm like, a natural at what? So, you know, you got to make sure anything you get into, you make sure you're studying and making sure that you're
Hmm.
doing everything on your end that when you got that opportunity, it shows up, you can show up too. And you're not like fumbling. Because even if you are good, it's a lot of times on set, you might not know certain rules or not
Hmm.
know, you know, about blocking and you on theater and you don't know about, you know, just certain things that happens within the genre that you don't know about that it'd be good to get training for. So I think that's something I really dedicated myself to is training and studying and yeah, man, and we're here and I've been able to do some really cool things in
Hmm.
television and do some cool things on stage and work with a lot of cool people. And again, man, still grinding.
Hmm.
But yeah, man, I've been able to do a lot of things I've always wanted to do. And it was just a matter of me making a hard decision within myself and saying, okay, bro, this is something we're going to do now. And, you know,
Hmm.
here we are.
Mm. That's dope. And you're right about that because when people say, "Yeah, I'm a natural," you know what I'm saying?
A
And
natural at what?
what does that mean, right? I mean, shoot, Steph Curry still shoot 1,000 jumpers a day, probably. You know what I'm
Straight
saying?
up.
Like,
Straight up.
and he cold. You know what I'm saying? He's
Straight
there.
up.
Four
And
chips in, and he's still shooting 1,000 a day.
absolutely. And you can never stop training, man. Never stop training. Even now, I'm training weekly. And so, you
Hmm.
know, I'm still in classes. So I think that's the biggest thing, man. Never stop training and um, get good at whatever it is you want to do. If you want
Hmm.
to be a singer, you know, figure that voice out. If you want to be an actor, you know what I'm saying? Figure your skill out. I think a lot of times people, and especially I think it's because, you know, we're in social media age. This is the TikTok generation, the microwave
Hmm.
generation. We got
Hmm.
15 seconds of attention that you can pay something. So I think a lot of times people translate that in their real life in an incorrect way because they think everything's supposed to happen just like this.
Right.
And even though in some situations certain things do happen like that, but generally, when you even look at the backstories of people that seem like they've been overnight success, you see that they've been at it for a while. Even if you see like a 19-year-old on TikTok became a millionaire, but you look back, you see he's been making videos since he was 12. So, you know,
Hmm.
everything is
Hmm.
a process. It's just a matter of are you willing or do you care enough to stick to that process to see it through? And so,
Right.
you know, that's my philosophy, man.
Yeah, no, and you're right about that. I think the thing is everybody wants it now. Right? Like you said, everybody wants that success instantly. And then also it's like, well, if it's not popping in, a year, then I guess it's never going to pop it. And you move on to another hustle. And then you move on to like 10 different hustles like each and every year, right? Instead of just honing like your own craft. Because sometimes like people, this overnight thing, it's not a real thing. You know what I'm saying? We just happen to see it. It's like, oh, well, he's overnight. Overnight to you.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
him, like this person quit probably 50, 11 times, you know what I'm saying? But they stuck
100%,
with it, you know what I'm
100%.
saying? Um, and that's dope, bro. And you are definitely good. You are an example, especially to black and brown boys like ourselves, you know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
man.
You know what I'm saying? Who's out there who's like, yo, I don't know about what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Stop looking at social media, you know what I'm saying? Like look
Stop
at
looking.
real things, you know what I'm saying? So definitely appreciate that, man. So it's been a few years,
Few years.
since the passing of your father, right?
Yes.
Um, so I know you had to update. So what has changed? What have you learned in this process? From the time when we spoke, right? You had certain feelings about, grief and what that looked like for you at that time, right? But grief is ebbs and flows, right? Year one could look different from year three, from look different from to year five, and as we're recording right now, yesterday was my eighth year. with, you know,
Oh
an
man. Oh,
anniversary without my dad, right?
and you
Um,
still here.
yeah, yeah, right.
Still here.
Yeah. So, so what's going on in your world, like when it comes to grief?
So I will say this. Um, the last time we spoke, so when you say update, I really don't have a necessarily update, so to speak,
Hmm.
but I'll say this. Man, the last time we spoke, right? And I don't know whether you had asked me to do the show or whatever, but whatever, a lot of times I have this, I think it's kind of like, for instance, if I trip and fall, I'm gonna pop right back up.
Yep.
Knees might be on fire, ass might have fell on the floor, just whatever. But I'm gonna pop right back up just off of instinct, right?
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
what happened is this: the last time we did that show, when I was initially going through my situation, that was part of that instinct, me saying, "Okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm fine, it's cool."
Hmm.
And the reality was, I wasn't. And
Yeah.
so, I think that, and I think maybe even in the podcast, and I don't remember because I didn't, to be honest, I didn't listen to it again because I'm like, I don't want to
Hmm.
hear me talk about that type of
All
stuff.
right.
But um, I don't remember what I said, and maybe I did say at that time I was not cool or I was whatever. But I think at that time, looking back, that was very premature because again, that was the first major loss I've ever had. So I didn't
Hmm.
even understand what happens in grief or how it comes in waves. Or you might be cool for 2 months, then 2 months later, you're like, oh shit, what I got into. And
Hmm.
so, a lot of times, man, we as men, we have this like I'm popping right back. I'm cool. This happened, but it's all good. Without giving us ourselves the space to even go there emotionally, whether it's grief, whether it's having that whole process. And I think being that was my first major loss in my life, I didn't have the tools at that time.
Mm.
Um, I went to therapy. They gave me some good stuff, I guess. But really, it was more so me just preparing myself for this storm that I now have as a permanent part of my life. Sometimes it's heavy, sometimes it's not. Sometimes I don't feel nothing at all. It's kind of like these waves and it comes crashing in sometimes and then it goes like a 6 month spell without me, without whatever. So I think the biggest thing is to give yourself some type of space to understand that these feelings will come and it's just a part of life.
Mm.
And I also start to look at it differently now because I feel like, if I don't feel nothing, it's not giving my dad the proper memory or the proper homage, and when
Mm.
I do feel something, I'm like, okay, this is real. This is something that, my soul is honoring him in this moment. And so
Mm.
I think that yeah, I just wasn't prepared. I wasn't
Hmm.
prepared because I didn't know. And
Hmm.
again, man, and giving myself grace to that because we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
It's my first time, having losing a parent, and so that
Hmm.
was just a new territory for me. And also, unfortunately, around that time, it was a lot of other people that we lost too because
Yes.
of the time period it was in, and so even in not knowing how to grieve, it's kind of like, okay, what am I saying? Like, where's my emotions going to be directed to? Is my
Hmm.
grandfather just died? Friends from school. Just all these other issues that happened at that time. Is you try to figure out where I'm gonna direct my emotion to, and I'm like, well, I'm shutting the whole thing off. I'm cool. And so
Mm.
that was my my coping mechanism. But I will say this: I've given myself the space. I've given myself grace to feel whatever it is I feel at any
Mm.
moment in time. And I
Mm.
think that's something I just was not conditioned to prior to that happening. But again, we know what we know. We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah. I think even us as men, like I'm good. Like it's almost like innate. Like those
Yeah,
two
yeah.
words. I'm good. Like it just rolls off your tongue just so easy, right? No matter what happens in life, I'm good.
I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
chilling.
It's just what
Yeah.
I'm good. Man. It's what it is. Yeah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And Lord knows we ain't good. Lord knows we are not
Nope.
good. We are not
Nope.
good.
And and it's interesting, and especially as a young black man in this world, and we're still learning. We still need your father for things, or you still
Mm.
need that advice for something. And so a lot of times that grief don't hit you up until you got a real question about some long-term decisions you need to make, and you're like, man, who would I talk to about this? Or just, a lot of times, and especially men that we've had active fathers in our lives. And that's the biggest thing because a lot of times it's almost you're on autopilot with your dad. Something happened, you want to text him or you want to call him real quick, or
Mm-hmm.
because they're such a normal, regular part of your life. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing, man, that it was a little bit difficult. And even to this day, man, it's just like a bunch of stuff. I'm like, yo, I want my dad to see this or taste this or something I cook,
Man,
just whatever it is.
man.
So and we had this little competitive thing about cooking. And so I want to send him some pictures of some meals I cook. And I'm like, man, I can't even do it. So, you have to find solace in the fact that, they're watching you wherever they are, and their spirit is around. But yeah, man, it's a process. It's a process, for real.
It it's such a process. And I think sometimes you really don't understand triggers until you lose somebody. Right?
Yeah.
Like until you lose like a pivotal person in your life, and you just like, man, because I remember when my dad died. I think one of my boys had a baby. I think a couple months after or something like that, and it was a baby shower, and I went there, of course, for it, and he had his father there.
Yo, people don't
It
talk about
triggered
that.
the it triggered me so bad. Now, of course,
Yeah.
like I'm there, but like as I'm there, there's so many thoughts going through my head, like I'm never gonna get the opportunity. That's done. Like and you just like, and you're sitting there like,
Over.
and you're trying to be happy, like you're happy for your, it's there, but then it's just like in your mind, it's like I will never have this opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the grief kind of just settles in at that time. It's not even like you can push it away to the left, to the right. You like, yo, like I get it together. Like, but you just sitting there like, man, like that's never gonna happen for me.
Never
Right.
going to happen. And that's another thing when people talk about acceptance, right? That's a part of acceptance. Like, yo, this situation or this ideal, whatever that I created in my mind growing up, like, when I get to a certain age, I'm getting married, my dad gonna do this, and just all these milestones that you have in your life that you assume that, certain characters going to be a part of the production. This little actor talk. But
Mm-hmm.
certain people would be a part of your
Yeah,
be a part of your life. And you really have to reconfigure how your whole life is going to look.
man.
And how it feels, and you then wonder, are these big milestones now because the people I wanted to celebrate with isn't there, and just all these things you have to grapple with that a lot of people, nothing prepares you for.
It's a big
Nothing
thing.
prepares you for it.
That's a big thing because sometimes you realize like, oh, like what I thought was a big deal, like, oh, like having this or getting those things, and it's like you wanted your village there, those
Yeah.
people there, and people say things like, oh, they're there in spirit, and it's like, oh, I'll punch you in the face. It's not the same, right? Like it's not the same. Like I get it, right? But it's not the same,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To having because there's memories, there's pictures, right? Like yeah, like you want pictures with your dad, like holding the baby, holding his grandson, granddaughter, whatever it is, like y'all together. Could be marriage, whatever it is for the person, right? The house, my dad seen me get my first house, whatever, right? You want to see all the things and to know that that's not going to happen for you. That in and of itself is a grief process too. People don't realize that because it's almost like, yo, I'm grieving something that I wanted, but I'm never gonna get.
Yeah.
Right. And it's all a part of it. And and triggers are crazy because they could be scenes on TV. Like there's different and as an actor, you could appreciate that, right? Because those are the things that hit, you know. I think I don't know, about a month ago, I was watching Bel Air. Um, and there was a scene, right? And even though my mom is still here, you know her condition. I told you, right? And so that's a different type of grieving someone who's still here. That's a
Yeah.
whole different thing than
Yeah.
somebody who's passed on. That's another lesson, right? And so, but there was a shot of I'm not trying to be a spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen it, but just Will was dancing with his mother at a wedding, right?
Hmm.
At a wedding, not his, but a wedding. And that was me and my mom's thing, right? And it,
Hmm.
especially at that age that he was at, right? It flooded memories. It
Yeah.
flooded just of all the memories and all the things, right? And
Yeah.
it triggered me, like it triggered me a lot. And so I like what you said when you said you have to give your space to give yourself space to feel, give yourself grace to kind of be able to go through any emotions that comes with that. Because you know us, it's like, nah, we good. Like no emotion, like but it's like it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
Grief,
Yeah.
right? And it's a process, and I think through conversations like this, like what you and I are having, I think people can have a safe space to say, you know what, these men are talking about this. Like that's necessary. And it hurts. Like it's a big loss. And what I've realized is, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but when I lost my dad and things like that happened with my mom and stuff, like it's like you almost feel like you could lose anyone, right? And it's like it's puts in perspective for me, like the people who I really wanted in my life, right? And it's like, and if you don't want to be here, it's like I've already lost my dad. My mom is, in the situation that she's in. Yo, look, at that point, you could lose anyone at that point. Yo, go, bye. Like it's you start to feel like that, like and nothing really gonna be too much bigger aside from if you have your own kids, that's different. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
but like in terms of like just like my friendships and I love my friendships and stuff like that. But if people really don't want to be in your life like that, it's like you like, all right, bro, sis, go. Like it just that
Yeah.
feeling just starts to
Yeah.
happen like almost naturally, where it's like it doesn't get much bigger than this unless it's your kid or something like that, or wife or husband, whatever. Like, but it doesn't get much bigger than a parent. You know what I'm saying? And I mean this respectfully, like you get one mom, one dad.
One mom and one dad. And that's why even when you said something about kids, right? So I don't have kids, so I can't speak on this in a real
Mm-hmm.
definitive way.
Mm-hmm.
But you can have more than one kid, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you have the loss of a child. It's like that's the worst thing in the world that can happen to
Mm-hmm.
us. The worst thing
Mm-hmm.
in the world. But you may have other children too.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, once you lose a parent, that's it. Like it's no more. It's done. You
Done.
can't, birth another dad or it's there's no coming back from that at all. And again, there's no loss that's coming back from, but specifically losing a parent, it's like it's over.
Yeah.
It's over. And so I think the biggest thing that, and again, the whole thing is still teaching me lessons to this day. And that's one thing I would say I did get out of it. So I think the biggest lesson I gained, or the lessons I'm constantly gaining from my father's
Mm-hmm.
transition,
Yep.
is how real life can get. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew that people can die. I know that something can happen to a person that it has them incapacitated and they're no longer the version of the person you know. But I didn't know that. Like I didn't have any personal experience with that. And
Mm-hmm.
so experiencing something like that and experiencing a person that is here today and gone tomorrow. And I don't know if people on your show remembers about my story. My dad never was sick. So there was not a transitional period for me to prepare the possibility that he might die or something may happen. There was none of that. It was just he was here one moment and gone the next.
Mm-hmm.
And so just the finality of the whole thing and how finite that whole situation was, it really inspired me. And one of the lessons I gained from that is that everything that you want to do, you should do it. Leave no stones unturned, because you can be here today and gone tomorrow, and you don't want to leave this earth without having that conversation with that person, without starting that business, without going after whatever it is you're going after, without moving to the next state, whatever it is that you want to do. Life isn't promised, and I think that really put that in perspective. And of course, all the other people I lost around that time period, that it just like, wow, like you're really dropping out here. But you
Yep.
know, I
Yep.
think that that's one of the many lessons that I've taken from his transition, that you know it can be over, and you got to make sure that
Quick.
you doing everything in your power to fulfill the purpose that you think you have.
Hmm. And the one thing about losing a parent is you're losing the only people who love you unconditionally. And I think that's the thing. Like your kids love you because you do so much for them, right? You got a spouse, they love you because of all the good things you do for them, right? Like your parents love you because you exist.
Because you
Like your
showed up.
parents it's a different thing. Like they love you unconditionally, no matter if you're disappointed in you, if you're not making enough money as you think you're supposed to, if you ain't as successful, if you're going through a tough period, the most craziest things that you could be going through in life, no matter what happens, your parents love you. And
Yeah,
so when you lose that kind of love, and if it's like a part of you is gone, like it's gone. It's hard to explain to people who haven't gone through it, but you feel like a part of yourself is just it's no longer here. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, man, there's nobody left. You might have your mom left or your dad left, one of the two that might be left, and it's like that's the only people I have left. And when you technically lose both, or one is sick and one is gone, like you almost feel naked out here. Like it's a tough thing. And yes, you might have a good circle of friends, and you may have a good spouse, right? But it just doesn't replace that kind of love. It's different. That kind of love different, man. You
it's
know?
different. And so, let me ask you this: um, after experiencing the transition of your father, did you notice your personality changed after he left,
Um,
or did you have any personality changes?
my personality changes were it was a little different. I think my personality, I think for the most part stayed the same,
Mm-hmm.
but I think from me, my patience got a little bit more shorter. My patience for nonsense got very much shorter.
Yeah.
And I was concentrating on my mom because they were married 43 years. And I went
Yeah.
into like a different mode, right? Because then it was, I don't want my mom to go. Because people that have been married that long, it's like one goes and sometimes the other one goes right after.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was so grief stricken that I didn't even really even start my journey with grief probably until almost 3 years, 4 years after, to be honest.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Because I went into go mode of like, yo, I gotta say, oh, my mom got to be here. So like, if she dies, it's on me, and that's not true. Now I understand that, like you said, you don't know what you don't know, but at that time, that was my immediate like, okay, so now I have to be there for her in a different way, so that to kind of cover her during her grieving process, and so that I kind of took on that role, right, and so for me, I was a very much so, I think, a much more short patient person. I became a little bit more angrier, I think, um, frustrated, just with life, with things. Watching my mom suffer changed me a lot. I think at the time, because I just hated to see her grieve in that way because she was utterly like destroyed by that.
Mm, mm.
And she's been through a lot physically and just health wise, but I've never seen anything affect her like that. Like
Yeah.
losing that part of her, it was something to behold. But to answer your question, like little changes, like I think just my patience, me being a little bit more angrier, my relationship with God took a little bit of a dip, if I'm being honest. And I think, with my personality, I think when I started to go through the grieving process 3 or 4 years later, I think that's when I think sometimes the real changes in my personality came. In terms of, I kind of wanted to start to be a little bit more like him. right? I think, and not that I wasn't already, but I take after my mom a lot,
Hmm.
right? But then I think, you start hearing like when somebody dies, you start hearing stories that you never heard before. Like you just start hearing things from family, and you're like, what? Who is this guy? You know what I mean? That is the guy I know, right?
Yeah.
But then you start to realize, you got like, we have a lot more in common than I thought, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
As a man, like you just like, wow, like, because my dad wasn't a person to really talk about himself too much, right? So sometimes like you have to pry stuff out of him, but once he passed, people started just sharing so many different stories of him as a younger person, as a 20,
Hmm.
30 year old that I never heard
Hmm.
before. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow. And it reminded me a lot of myself. And I'm like, wow, like that's pretty dope. So that's where I got that from, or that's where I got this from, right? And then even his temperament, just knowing, how cool of a mild-mannered person he was, right? I was like, yeah, like I can take something from that. You know what I'm saying? And I start implementing a lot of those things. But yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's love. That's love.
Hmm.
I think for me, um, I think I start taking a lot of things just way more serious.
Hmm.
Um, I think when you have both of your parents, there's always this subconscious thing that, if all this falls out, I still go stay with my
I
mom.
still got
You
them.
know, if all this falls out, I go on my daddy couch. You know what I mean? Like that is in the subconscious. Now, of course, as a man, you always pushing forward and making sure your stuff is together and
Always, yeah.
playing the A B C D E and F.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, you can go, sleep on your mama's couch or your daddy's couch. So a lot of times, even with that, now that I know, certain things are no longer even an option for me, I started taking life so much more serious.
Yeah.
And I took it serious to begin with, but just that it's just, man, this is real out here. So
It's
I think
different.
that's the biggest thing that I in terms of just personality changes for me. Um,
Hmm.
and you go through your crazy period afterwards after it happened because you like, well, YOLO, that was I was there. You know what I'm saying? And so,
Facts.
that's one aspect of it that a lot of people don't talk about. And we ain't gonna touch on it on this show, but
Hmm. Hmm.
you get in that space because you like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I think to be honest with you, I probably adopted that into my life at this point.
Hmm.
And it's done me well. I will say this because there's very, very few things I'm scared about, very, very few things I'm nervous about,
Hmm.
very, very few things that I just won't do in
Hmm.
terms of my emotions allowing me to stop myself from doing it. I've always been a bit of a daredevil, but I think that happened kind of turned it up to level 12, and so
Hmm.
it's and again, man, it served me
Hmm.
because a lot of times where I will overthink things at times, I will like second guess myself on certain things. That's out the window.
Hmm.
It's out the window. So
Hmm.
I would say definitely that is one of the biggest personality changes for me. It gave me a renewed sense of how serious life can get,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just don't leave no
Hmm.
stones unturned.
Yeah. I think that was one of the things is really do what you want to do in life,
Yeah.
right? Get it done, right? Whatever is on your bucket list that you want to do it. And it also shines a light on I'm getting older. Uh, I mean, if we're being honest, I mean, yeah, the whole thing black don't crack, yeah, okay, but the
You
age, age,
cracking?
age don't lie. So age is undefeated. Father Time is undefeated now.
Hey,
You know,
man.
you know what I'm
But,
saying?
but you know what? I will say this. I used to have, when I was young, I think I used to have a thing about getting older because at that time where I was in terms of my career, and I'm talking about young, young, like as in 12 or 13,
Right.
I felt like that I was becoming too old for certain things. Mind you, at 13 years old, right? And
Yeah.
now every birthday I have, man, I celebrate myself. I
Hmm.
celebrate with the ones I love, and it's because to get older is a great thing.
Yeah.
To those numbers moving up is a great thing. That means you still here.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
the only other option is what?
Yeah. Hmm.
So, it's and again, man, as long as we, taking our vitamins and drinking water and hitting that treadmill from time to time, it's a beautiful thing. But yes, as you get older, it's a different experience. It's a different experience.
Yeah, it's a different experience because there's more, especially not that there's more. My brother would say, and he always say, "Yo, man, you got like 20 hot summers left."
Mm-hmm.
He said you might live till you like 85, but you got like 20, 25 hot summers, like where you thriving, like in
When you
terms
throw,
of like you just moving and grooving. He was like, yeah, you like it be like that when you a little older, but like when you think about the prime, like got 20, 25 hot summers left where you could really, you know what I mean? So it's like, oh man, like when you put it that way, it's like you got to get it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And
yeah.
and do what you want to do. I think one of the things that I learned from my parents was like the lesson rather was like they said that they were going to wait until retirement to travel.
Mm.
And those things never happened, right?
Yeah, man. And I think that's, so funny. And this is a whole separate conversation, so I'm just gonna be
No,
surface about
let's
this.
go into it. I don't care. Let's go
But
into
I'm
it.
just saying, even about the concept of even having a retirement account and having money there for when you're no longer able to even enjoy the money like you want to. But I done waited. Now I look like a raisinette on this beach. I'm not, my skin ain't even tight no more. Like, I want to be able to put a speedo on. So
Mhm.
no, so no, but we have this whole system set up, so we're gonna work really hard till we're old and we can barely move. And now you get to spend this money that you've been saving this entire time. And so I think even the concept of that, man, it really bothers me because again, once I realized that something can happen to you
Mm.
and you're not exempt because you're young, you're not exempt because you're healthy, it can touch any of us any day.
Any day.
And I'm not waiting until I'm 65 to hit the beach. I'm not waiting until I'm 65 to travel. Like we got to figure this shit out. I mean, we got to figure this thing out now.
Yeah, yeah. And you'd be proud of me. So there's 31 days in this month. I have been on a treadmill 26 days
That's what
this
I'm talking
month.
about. That's what I'm
26
talking.
I know, you're a workout guy, so I said,
That's what
yeah,
I'm
I gotta,
talking about.
I said, so the 31 days in this month so far, I've hit 26 days being consistent on a treadmill for, anywhere between 45 to an hour. You know what I'm saying? So I've
that
been
that's
consistent.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And the thing is, I be telling people all the time, man. Black men, we have the cheat code. The only
Hmm.
thing you have to do is eat right and work out. And this not even working out no heavy stuff. I mean, like just move your body because we age really well if you
Hmm.
if you're doing everything you're supposed to do on your end. And
Hmm.
so a lot of times, man, when I see people not moving, and again, you ain't got to pump no iron, you have to push nothing for real, for real. Just start moving. Just make sure
Yeah.
you breathing correctly, that cardio is together, because we die in heart related situations, illnesses,
Yes.
regularly. And then, man, I see all these men getting taken out because of strokes, because of
Yeah.
this, that, and just a bunch of just stuff that can be alleviated, and all comes down to stress. And stress is, being in these jobs for until you're 65, knowing that you're not going to be able to, reap whatever benefit until
Hmm.
you're raising that. And so it's
Hmm.
like, yo, we have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and honoring ourselves in a way. And because a lot of times, here's the thing: we don't get checkups, we don't
Facts.
want to go to the doctor, just all these
Facts.
things that we don't do. And again, if that's not your thing, cool, but make sure something is your thing. If you're into holistic practices, do that. But and
Hmm.
participate in that if you're really into that. Because a lot of people like, I don't go to the doctor, I'm more in the holistic. And I'm like, so have you seen a holistic healer or holistic doctor at some point in time? Or you just, you know,
Yeah.
read some off the internet and hoping for the best. And
Hmm.
so we have to really take care of ourselves. And I think that once we treat our temples right, it's going to treat us right in return. And again, but even with that being said, any day can be your day.
Anything can happen. right?
Yeah.
I
That bus
think
can take you out as soon as you leave the gym.
you know all that stuff, right? But the one thing about that you said is food and exercise.
Yes.
If you're gonna be honest, a lot of food, man, food be, people be in the gym, but still eating different things, and I
Food
think
be
that
good, man.
is crazy, right? So, but I think there's also this thing where only if you're overweight, you're unhealthy. And, what I've learned, even from my doctor, who's amazing, she's like, yo, man, skinny people have diabetes. Skinny people have heart disease. Skinny people, like, there's this thing where it's like, if you think you look a certain way, that you're healthy, and you're not.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, even if you have good genes, good, but you got to get that blood work to see if you got heart problems and heart disease and and stroke prevention. Just certain things that you got to look to see, right? Because stress don't have no weight requirement. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
Like
Nope.
I
Nope.
don't care if you 155 pounds and you've been in the gym. That's good. But sometimes there's so much stress that you got going on up here, it manifests in different areas of your body. And the next thing you know, oh, well, he was in shape. What happened? Or he was always in the gym. He ate right. What happened? Dude, a lot of that stuff is stress. Bro.
Stress. Stress.
Like it's stress is a silent killer. My mom used to tell me all the time, like stress is a silent killer. And you think you on it because you in the gym. And I promote being in the gym, do that. But get yourself some extra help if you need, therapy, if you need some other things, to talk through things, right? To get the help that you need and really get your numbers. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Get your
Yeah.
get your cholesterol numbers, get your blood pressure numbers. People walking around here with high blood pressure, dog, right?
But
And they don't even know.
they don't know. But the thing is, they think it's just a part of their body and a part of their makeup. So they're always they are used to this feeling in their stomach at all times. Is because they think that's just how everybody's body is. Um, and the one of the biggest things that you said just now too. And I still train people from time to time.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things, man, is mental exercise. Because a lot of times, even you can be working out a lot, right? And that stress causing you to store a lot of fat in your stomach. And so
Mm-hmm.
these are real things called cortisol, I believe. And
Mm-hmm.
so, these are real physical results of having stress. And so one thing I do is I ask my clients about, where you are in life. Is this something that why are you training for? Because a lot of times, man, you get so many stories about some people they're training because they're trying to lose weight for their husband or whatever the
Mm.
case is, and it's all stress fueled and induced. And so a lot of times, man, that got to be one of the biggest things people got to think about just in terms of their physical health is that mental health also.
Yeah.
Are you in a space that you can start eating healthy, or is eating healthy something eating unhealthy a coping mechanism for you? And so a lot of times, man,
This
as
guy.
Black people, we use food as comfort. We
Yes.
use food as a coping mechanism. What we do after every event, we always got some food, some chicken in the back. It's just always, and me being from Virginia too, it's to level 10. It's always some food involved, and we don't know how much sodium in it. What's the cholesterol content? We don't know nothing. We know some
Because
food. We
we
say,
don't
hey, we
measure.
about to bust this plate down.
Because
So
we don't measure nothing, right?
we don't mention nothing. We
We
let
seasoning
the
you.
we let great grandma tap us on the shoulder and be like, "That's enough." You know what I'm saying? Too far, too far, too much, too much.
That's a
But
fact,
no,
though.
man, it's all of those things are interconnected. Your mental health, your physical health, and just your life outcomes. Because again, those are things. Again, we're living this life for the first time, so we don't know. But those are the things I didn't know I had to take care of. I figured if I took care of my body, I'm good. But it's like, yo, you are going through it. What are you going to
Hmm.
do about that? So,
Yeah.
yeah, man, I had to. But you learn all these things, man. You learn them all. You learn them all. We don't know.
Hmm.
We don't know.
You don't. And the one thing I did learn in this grief process and stress and sometimes when you stress, right, in one year, you don't feel it to the next year in
Yeah,
terms of the effects physically, right? Because in one season, it could be 2023, you went through the most stressful time of your life, and then you come out of it 2024. Yeah, all right, so we good. But the residual from 2023, you start to feel in 2024, and you're like, well, why do I feel sick? Or why do I feel this? Or why do I have these headaches? Or why do I have this? Or what that from that.
yeah,
And we don't even really realize that. Talking to my
yeah.
doctor, talking to certain people in the medical profession is yes, like you can stress in one year and you may not even feel the effects of it until the very next year, even if you're doing
Mhm.
fine.
Yep,
It's
yep,
crazy.
yep.
It's crazy.
And again, it's all it's all interconnected, and we have to just make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. This is men and women. I just spoke specifically on the men, but this is for men and women.
Absolutely.
Making sure that we are treating our bodies in a way that we're also treating our mind in that same way. And that includes not willingly engaging with certain things that does not bring you happiness.
Mm,
Willingly engage with people in situations that does not bring you happiness or that just causes stress for you. A lot of times, and as men, we don't have that option a lot of times. You just have to deal with stressful situations,
right.
um, which is why those tools and those positive, healthy coping mechanisms are so important. So we can implement those into our life so we can reduce stress. Because a lot of,
Mm,
again, the food, where I'm from, anything happens, somebody dies, somebody born, somebody gets celebrated, anything, we getting it in. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like we getting it in. And so food for celebration, food for sadness, food for this, food for that. And there's no, and I remember growing up, because I used to watch a lot of TV growing up, and I'm like, where the vegetables at? We might have like one, raggedy bowl of wet salad over here that nobody's touching for real, for real. But for the most part, we busting down the mac and cheese and putting gravy on it. You know what I mean? Like we going
Hmm.
in. So um, the coping mechanism that has to be changed with
Yeah.
that is how we're using food and what
Hmm.
does food mean for us. I love food, man. I'm a foodie, but I
Me
understand
too.
the function
Yeah.
of food, and I understand that just because it's there, you ain't got to eat the whole pie. It's just it's a lot of things, man, that you learn throughout your journey in self improvement. And so I
Hmm.
would say, going back to the original topic, man, the grief process for me has been a journey of self improvement
Mm.
and gaining those tools, gaining information, talking to other people that may have gone through the same thing I have, just us reflecting experiences together. What did you do? Or, do you smell your dad cologne sometime? Like it's so good, speaking to somebody that so you don't feel crazy, So I think that those all those things important. Take care of yourself. Have a village. Um, do things that will honor your
Mm.
loved one.
Hmm.
Which has always been a big thing for me. Like what can I do to honor him even more than I am, other than just trying to be the best version of myself and knowing that I'm his kid. And that's a good representation for him. But so it's all these things, man. We try to figure it out.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to honoring, it looks different for everybody, right? But I
Yeah,
always try to uh, do things that, you know, especially during the seasons of anniversaries and things. And I try to do things that reminds me of him, or eat some, I think so. So case in point. So just yesterday, my girlfriend came home. She got me a Reese's Pieces, right? That was my dad's favorite chocolate, Reese's
mm-hmm.
Pieces, right? Um, just doing things that, I know that you love, right? Watching football, watching baseball, those things. You just start to just do things to say, you know what, man, like this reminds me of him. It puts me in a comfort,
Yeah,
right? It
yeah,
puts me in a comfort place to say, like I feel closer to him now, right? Even though he's not here. Um, And sometimes that has taken the sadness, not away, but it kind of turns the moment into a little bit more of a happy place for the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so what would you say to someone who unfortunately has entered this club um, newly, right? And what words of wisdom would you give them, you know, um, in terms of processing, in terms of um, how to handle, right? And of course, you can't tell someone how to handle that, right? But if someone asks you your advice and say, "Yo, small man, my parent just died, man. I don't know what to do with myself, man. You got any advice?" What would you tell them?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think that what would I tell somebody? Just allow yourself to be and hold on. Um, I think the there's a conversation to be had about how we really feel on a subconscious level, meaning,
Mm-hmm.
do you still want to be here? Those conversations, it can get dark. So I would say to a person, hold on. It is something that you're going to have to live with, but you have to make sure that you are honoring your loved one daily.
Mm-hmm.
And again, give yourself space. Give yourself space. When it first happened, you might have a reaction, and your reaction might be completely different 2 months from now. And then 2 months after that, it's the initial reaction, and then it's kind of like sometimes it goes to anger. You're upset that they left because it's like, yo, I need to call somebody. You ain't on the phone. What you doing there?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
it's all those different emotions. So I would say hold on and be prepared for the wave of emotions and understand that it's just a part of life. And you
Yeah.
have to be an alchemist about those emotions and really invest your emotions into something that's productive for yourself, whether it's starting a business, working out, really getting into self-help and really getting into understanding of yourself as a person. Um, and just look at that as an opportunity for you to learn more about yourself. I think that on a surface level, the only thing we think this is the worst thing that ever happened in my life, and why am I being punished for this? And I don't deserve this. All these different things that
Mm-hmm.
our humanness um, would agree with. But I think the biggest thing, man, that I would tell somebody is hold on and give yourself space to grieve. If you got to cry it out, even when you at work, go in the bathroom and get that thing off your chest. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I remember I used to, I thought I was okay for some months. Um, and this is, and actually it's funny. So I was driving, just driving a normal, I don't know where I was coming from somewhere. But all of a sudden, it just hit me like a ton of bricks.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
started laughing at myself when I was doing it because it was a very out of body experience for me. Because I'm like, I'm okay. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And so it's
Yeah.
just that whole dichotomy of emotions happening and trying to grapple with it. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm a crazy person right now, but this is this is part of the process. This is Brooklyn right here, as you can hear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but no, it's 100% a part of the process. So I would say hold on, give yourself space, and understand that you can turn this grief into something else.
Mm-hmm.
But again, give yourself space. Don't be like me that try to bounce right back immediately and say, I'm fine, I'm fine. And
Mm-hmm.
so, give yourself space, give yourself some grace. And
Mm-hmm.
more than anything, everybody's experience is so different.
Oh
And
yes.
so I could say that to a person, but a person may not have had a good relationship with that parent. A person may have had still been upset with the parent, so that's a different kind of grief there because it's
Mm-hmm.
unanswered questions, it's unanswered conversations, it's unhad conversations, and
Mm-hmm.
so there's so many variables in that. And so the general advice I would say is understand that it's going to ebb and flow, but that's
Mm-hmm.
life, right?
Yeah.
life ebbs and flows in that way. You may have a good year this year and a bad year next year and some smooth sailing the next few years. You know, it's life. And so I think the grief process is really reflective of life. We
Hmm.
have some good moments, some bad moments, and think everything's going smooth, and bam, you fall off. So yeah, man, give yourself space.
Hmm. You know what I would add to that? Lower your expectations of others. And
Okay.
and because sometimes as the griever, I think it's like you expect your friends or family to remember like the dates or the times, right? And for me, I think I have maybe two friends aside from my girlfriend, of course. I got like two friends that remember the days and will send me, hey, we'll check up, and I love that to death, But one of them is a part of the club,
Yeah.
right? One is not, but they just knew my family, so family is family. So, but a lot of friends who you expect, right, to send those messages on an anniversary dates, to make the call or whatever the case, to check up on you, they may not, and it's not out of maliciousness. One, people they may not know what to say, right? One, people go back to their regular lives, right? Um, and so sometimes I would say, like, if people aren't a part of that club, a lot of times people don't understand,
They
right?
don't. And again, and I'm glad you even brought that up because it's important to show other people grace too that's around you.
Yes. Hmm.
For me in my grief or in when everything happened for me, um, I had this thing that I didn't know whether even reaching out to other people will re-trigger them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
will how they will feel about having to be reminded by certain things, because there were things that I had just rather not spoke about when it came to my dad passing, because it's kind of like I got to go through that whole process again, just in terms of just the randomness of it all. Just here today, gone tomorrow, and having to explain certain things to people that may not know, or that just I didn't want to put that pressure on anybody else. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's more so what it was for me. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to put myself on other people. And
Mm-hmm.
so even in terms of like the dates and stuff when my dad, left the building, I think I kind of kept that type of stuff close to the chest. And it's not even
Mm-hmm.
more about, me being selfish or anything like that. It's more so um, me not wanting to bog other people down with my stuff. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times
Mm-hmm.
we don't even allow people to even go there with us because we already like, well, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
bother you, so whatever, whatever. But it's people that really do want to support us and really want
That's
to,
a fact.
talk us through certain situations as much as they know how to. Because that's another thing. If this is one of the things, man, that unless you experience it for yourself, you really can't you you can pray for me. You
Yeah.
can pat me in the back, rub my shoulder. You know what I'm saying? But it's like in terms of just that's a feeling that you can only explain to somebody else that has gone through it too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't know what to say. And I think sometimes people overcomplicate what to say, right? They're trying to think of
True.
a sermon of what to say or the most motivational thing to say to somebody who's gone through this thing. And it's like, nobody needs that. It's
Nah,
simple.
man.
The simplest thing on certain dates, it's like, oh, thinking of you today. Man, like, oh wow, like that would perk me up, right? Like, wow, like
Yeah.
somebody remembers. It wasn't no long drawn out thing, or nah, it was just thinking of you today, man. I know today is like thinking of you. That's it. And it's like something so simple as that can make somebody's day, right? So you don't have to
Yeah.
always go into a sermon. You don't always have to go into the cliche things, and just you gotta do is be there for somebody. I'm thinking of you, man. Like that's it, right? And simplify it to a point where it's just, oh man, cool. That's all I gotta say. And that's all you gotta say. Because people like me, people like you, like it don't take much to like, oh, please us like that. You know what I'm saying? In terms of that, it's like, yo, like just think about your dog.
No, for
Simple.
real.
You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, like, once you start going into deep things, that's probably when you put your foot in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Where you start saying things that, you know, we really don't want to hear. You know what
You're
I'm
right.
saying?
Because and somebody was very well intentioned, I believe. I will say this person is well intentioned. I'll never say this person, man or woman or whatever it was. I'm just going to tell you what happened.
Yep.
So there was a person that I know that after my dad had passed, and again, and I wasn't telling people because it was just a weird time. You know what I mean? It was just like
Yeah.
everybody was dying around it. It was
Yeah.
great. You know how it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And so I end up telling somebody that my dad had passed, and again, assuming he was well intentioned. I mean, the person was well intentioned, but but he was like, "I'm glad that happened for you," and he said it's going to make you. Basically, he's saying it's going to mature me, and I'm going to become the person I was always supposed to be. I think that was the idea behind him saying that. But the first thing I heard was him saying he glad my daddy died.
Yeah, that gets your head knocked off.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, you know what I mean? And so, and that's again one of those things people just don't know what to say at times. And that's the first thing they might just trying to
Yeah.
philosophize things. And it's like, bro, just say I'm praying for you. Like, be normal. Like,
And I think that's the thing. Just be normal and don't overcomplicate the
yeah,
process, right? We don't need all the extra hoopla because extra hoopla probably would piss us off, right? The
yeah,
entertainment plays, like I get it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like we get the cliche things to say, oh, what do they say? Well, the funerals are for rejoicing, and the birth is where you're supposed to cry, you know.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like, man, if you don't get on my, right? Like so it's like we don't need all that, and even just the simplest things mean the most. Less is more, right? And
that's absolutely.
right,
And
and that good,
no, I just want to say, and I think that even me telling that story, and this is the first time I've ever told that, but I think that's probably the reason why I even started more of not putting my stuff on people because in my mind I'm like, is this how people giving comfort and soothing people out here, saying I'm
yeah,
glad that happened to you? Like, so again, people don't know, and
right.
so I'm like, instead of me, putting hands on somebody, let me
Yeah,
just,
keep
keep
it to
myself
myself.
to keep it to myself. You know what I mean? And if it gets to the point that we have that conversation, or my father comes up, I'll tell. But it's
Yeah,
eh,
yeah,
it was
no,
it was interesting.
yeah. That type of comment is, the reaction could have been a little different.
It honestly, I think if I was in front of the person was on the phone with me, so I
Yeah,
think if
okay.
I was.
Because that's
I
a
think if it was in front of the person, I'll probably be talking to you on a phone call in Rikers. Sing, sing.
right, right next to old boy. Never mind.
Right, 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 right.
And I think and that's why I wanted to bring it up of just telling people, right, that you don't have to, you know, do too much, and also for us, for people who are grieving, temper your expectations of, because sometimes people get really upset, right? Like when their family doesn't remember, or when their friends don't remember. I've spoken to people where it's just they're upset because they're people that they're supposed to be their people, their friends, people who love them. They don't remember, or they don't, and it's like tell them like, look, is they're not even a part of the club, thankfully, right?
Yeah,
They're not really in that mode that you're in, right? And so your expectations is for them to remember these things and always hit you up, to comfort you or for a word. I'm just like, for them, their life has moved on. Yours hasn't,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Right. And it would now, if you have a friend that remembers that, that's a blessing. you know what I'm saying, and keep them close, right? I said, but you can't hold everyone accountable for not remembering your stuff, right? Because you're in the club, and only people who know who in the club know, right? And what that is and what that feels like.
And sometimes I look at it and I wonder because I don't have children yet. Um, is it the same thing that as when someone has children and they give advice on kids, or they can speak just but so far on children? Because again, I can tell somebody till I'm blue in the face, yo, I think you should do this with your son. Y'all should do this, da da da, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, I don't really know. I don't understand, or I understand it on the surface level from the outside looking in, but just the
Hmm.
nuances in a child-parent relationship, raising a kid, how that's supposed to look, how does that feel, just all those different things. I don't have that experience yet, so I wonder if it's the same idea behind trying to comfort somebody that's lost a parent, because that's such a specific experience,
Could be.
that from the outside I'm like, yo, just get over it, you know what I mean, just jog a little bit, shake it up, like whatever it is. And a person that's actually lost a parent can speak on just certain things that you may experience, or certain things the way grief might feel, or specifically parental related grief, because I think that's something very specific, because that's a part of your life makeup.
Mm.
um, you
Hmm.
can lose a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, there was a time period that you didn't know them. There was
Right.
a time, there was never a time period that your parents, unless those extenuating circumstances as far as like
Yeah.
orphans and whatever else.
Yeah.
But in general, there was never a time period that you didn't know your parent, and there was never a time period that they were not a character in the movie that is your life. And
Right.
so having to rewrite that movie, is very, very, just a very specific experience. So
Very
I
true.
wonder if it's the same idea as, raising kids and versus, not having kids.
I mean, could be, I mean, it could be, but if somebody gave me advice if I have kids that didn't have kids, I mean, it's like it wouldn't trigger me, right? Because I'm like, all
True.
right, because it's more like, well, I can take that advice, not take that advice, but it's not triggering me. It's like, all right, they don't have kids, they don't understand. But from somebody who hasn't lost a parent and I've lost something, right? And you're trying to tell me how to handle that, I think that's a little different. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like
True, true, true,
I
true.
lost something. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like you telling me I shouldn't feed my kids, you know what I mean, meat or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm be like, bro, all right, cool. I ain't lose nothing though, but all right, cool. I ain't gonna do it, but
yeah.
cool, right? Whatever it is, right? Right? Whatever that is, right? But if I lost something and it's like that could be triggering, you know what I'm saying? So I mean it could be a little different, but the concept could be the same though. So I get that for sure. Um, but when it comes to the part of grief, that and I'll say as men for right now, right? 'Cause that's who is what me and you are, right? As men going through this process, how important is it for us to have, because you mentioned village, right? So to have that one or two people that you can actually open up to that's has a safe space for you, right? Like how important is that, right? And what do you expect out of that, out of those individuals?
So I always say, in my situation, I am so, so, so blessed, so
Mm,
lucky, so fortunate. Every adjective I could use to describe it. I have a million brothers, and so
yeah, yeah.
it's a bunch of us. It's a football team. So unfortunately, we experienced all the same thing, but fortunately, we experienced it together. And
Mm,
so it was something that I had them. We all had each other the entire time. And throughout this entire time, we've had each other and supporting each other. And sometimes we want to call and tell a funny story about my dad, or,
hmm.
mad about something that may have happened, or, happy that, just, it's just so many different emotions that I'm able to share in a safe space because I do have my siblings.
Mm,
And we all are just open with each other in whatever we're feeling, and we don't have to go much outside of that to get healing in that way. And
Mm,
that's why I said I'm very, very fortunate because I know that's not the norm. A lot of
yeah.
times, a lot of people go through this stuff alone. They may
Hmm.
have one person they can speak about it. Two, they may have, prayerfully they can have two, but one person is amazing, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
But I would say me having my brothers has been the biggest godsend, and I think that's one of the blessings that I have because I always say that the earth exists in balances and scales, right? And so
Hmm.
it's like you don't have your dad, but you do have these brothers that y'all can work these emotions and feelings
Mm,
and grief out with.
hmm.
And a lot of times people don't have that, man, and people just have
Yeah.
to kind of like thug it out by themselves. And I just feel, my heart goes out to those people because um, I couldn't imagine not having my siblings around when all this was happening. And, for us to just, because a lot of times, even your friends, right? And you may have your best friend that you grew up with, but at the end of
Hmm.
the day, that friend didn't grow up in a house with you.
Mm,
The friend wasn't there for certain things when your dad tripped and fell in the grocery store and all y'all laughed at him. You know what I mean? It's just certain very niche experiences that you have with your siblings and a person that was their father too.
mm.
And so I think that's again, man, that's the biggest blessing I've had is my brothers and of course my mom and my aunts and the other people that are very close to me. But I would say my brothers have been very, very just instrumental in bouncing, helping me bounce back and us getting back on track with everything.
Man, that's a blessing, man. Shout out to the brothers, and it's cool because you probably also see different features of your father
It's
in
like
each
he's still
other.
here. He's still here, and I mean, I can go down a list of which brother got which component of my dad, and I'm able to experience my dad in different ways
Hmm.
still through my siblings. One of my brothers is really funny, and I'm not even gonna say which one it is, but talking to him sometimes it reminds me of talking to my dad.
Mm,
Even our banter, my dad and I would go back and forth about things a lot of times and it was in good fun, but we was dead serious. And
yeah.
so, and one of my brothers is the same, exchange. And so a lot of times, man, and that again, it's just I'm so blessed because
Mm,
he left himself in the earth in
mm.
all these different bodies that I'm able still to experience him
Wow.
and get the good parts of him from my siblings. So I think that's the biggest. It's I can't even. It's a blessing, man. It's a blessing.
Wow. That is beautiful, man. And I'm glad you have that village, man. That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. Wow.
Because even with your mom, right, that was her husband. And so she has a very specific, interaction and connection with him and relation with him.
Yeah.
Um, and and that just came to my brain just now. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's your siblings is kind of like that was their dad too, so they understand the loss of a parent. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, so
Hmm.
again, man, I can't thank the universe enough for sending me these guys that kind of help me through this process. We help each other through the process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you need that. Like and you got a lot. You know what I'm saying? Which
Amen.
is a blessing, man. That's a blessing, dog.
It
Um,
is. It is.
man, and that's why, even for and you know what? Even for you, for someone who has the village or the big support system with your brothers, you still sought therapy and stuff like that, right? So,
Absolutely.
and that's
Absolutely.
why I'm a big advocate for that because some people they may not have as many brothers as you have, right? They may be an only child, right? I don't know,
Mhm.
right? In whatever situations that brings, right? And so it's like find your safe space, whether that be therapy, friends, family, whatever that safe space is for you, go and grab it for yourself, right? If you don't have friends that can support you or help you along or family that can help you along, go get it for yourself. Go get a therapist. Go like you may have to be the one to go get it, and
Yeah.
and that's a real thing, right? Because you're in charge of your own mental health. You're in charge of all of the things, right? So you have to be the one to say, hey, you know what? I want to go get it for myself. Um, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, man. So you know what, man? What's next for you? Right? Like you in a lot of projects. You know what I mean? Like you moving and shaking. You got a lot going on, commercials, TV, film, you know what I'm saying, theater. So what is next for Jamaal?
What is next for Jamaal? The sky is the limit, man. I'm currently working on a project now, but the biggest thing that I've been doing is working on my own productions. I got something in the works now.
Okay,
Having
okay.
some projects shopping it around. So hopefully you guys see that pretty soon. But yeah, man, the same thing, just working, grinding, making sure that I'm being the best version of myself so I can produce quality content, things that are engaging that people want to see.
Hmm.
And again, also with my fitness stuff, I'm coming back. A lot of people know that I used to be a trainer back in the day
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
quite a few years. And I hung my uniform up for a little bit, but but so many people have been requesting me to, work with them and Jamaal, we got to get in the gym together. And I'm like, all right, give me a little bit. Let me get some stuff situated, and I'll be back. So I'm going to be taking on, a very small group of clients pretty soon. So we're gonna work together, and everything isn't necessarily going to be in person, but I'm definitely going to be able to still work with a group of clients regularly. So that's what I'm doing now, man. So just be on the lookout for the fitness stuff, man, and for all the production stuff I got coming out, and I'm going to be on another television show pretty soon. So yeah, man, it's just trying to make sure that all this, the whole Jamaal train is going north. And so, we gathering passengers on the way. We gathering passengers. But yeah, man, getting really back heavy into the fitness stuff because I think that's something that um, it's just, sometimes something that you do is so second nature to you
Yeah.
and you try to run from it. Like, I don't feel like doing this no more. But, I'm like, you know what? If y'all want it, we going to do it. So
Back
that's,
like Jordan wearing the 4-5. Yeah.
listen, I'm Fat Mike right now. So, I'm Fat Mike. So yeah, man. I'm back. I'm back, and yeah. Hopefully, I'm able to meet some people and help them transform their bodies, transform their minds, and their habits and the way they look at themselves. Because a lot of people don't know I come from a counseling background. That's what I did
Hmm.
when I was in college, and me and Terrence kind of seen each
Hmm.
other in that space too. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but so a lot of times, me as a trainer, is not only you just coming there pumping iron. I'm going to ask you, where are you in your life right now? Who are you? What does 5 years from now look like for you? So
Mm,
it's more than you just getting your body together. We're working on mind. We're working on your heart, your spirit, your soul.
mm.
So yeah, man, I'm 45. I'm back.
Yeah. I love that, man. And before we get out your way, tell people where they can follow you, and most importantly, where can they hit you up for bookings?
Absolutely. So you can follow me on Instagram. That's underscore JAMAALW. That's underscore Jamaal W. You can find me on Facebook at Jamaal Williams. You can find me on IMDb. I have a link in my Instagram bio. You can hit me up if you have any questions. And again, and a lot of times, man, a lot of people think that I'm like, so aloof or I'm, being, whatever the case is. I be hearing people, I'm like, yo, I'm mad regular. So what you talking about? But hit me up, man. If you want to talk about fitness, let's get a session in. Even if you're working on some projects and we think we can collaborate together, man, just hit me up. If it makes sense, I'm making it happen. So, I'm accessible. But yeah, just hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, the email, JamaalWBookings@gmail.com. Just hit me up, man. We outside.
Hmm. There is an up and another up and coming actor. His name is Ronald. His name is Ronald Smith. I don't
Ronald
know.
Smith, yes.
I don't know if you know him, but I would like to see a collab like that. I mean, I would like to see a collab like that. I mean,
Listen,
I'm just saying. That's just
I've
my
been
own personal
I've
opinion.
been waiting to work with Ronald for the past 6, 7 years. So we gonna do something pretty soon. Ronald has left and went down to Atlanta. So
Hmm.
he got out
Yeah,
of the New York system for a second. But no, we definitely gonna be doing something soon. We gotta find the right project to do it because we
but I
can't just do
happen to
nothing right.
know he will come back to New York he comes back to New York for projects, for filming, and
Well,
everything else.
we gonna do
So
something. We gotta do something together.
I would love to see it. That's all. That's all I'm saying. I love to see that, man.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's my guy, Ronald. Big shouts out to Mr. Ronald Smith in Atlanta doing his thing down there,
yeah,
doing his thing.
man. But I'm proud of both. I'm definitely proud of both of y'all, man.
I
Y'all doing your
appreciate it.
thing, man.
I
But
appreciate it. And I'm proud of you too, man. Again, this whole thing is a grind, brother. So sometimes, man, you just gotta put your head down and keep pushing through. And you're
that's
gonna
it,
look
man.
back and be like, man, I did that, I did that, I did that. That's pretty cool. So
Hmm.
yeah, man, it's a grind.
Big grind.
It's a grind. And the funny thing is, I was talking to somebody the other day and they asked me, you know, you did this TV show, you did this TV show. What do people recognize you from mostly? Or do people come up to you? And I said, the only thing people come up to me, they asked me, was I in a Sabrina Carpenter video. They never asked me about no TV shows I've done. They asked about this music video I did. And
Hmm.
and even with that, that was one of those things. I put my head down and grind, so I don't even realize, looking back, I'm like, yeah, I did do that video. It was pretty cool. But
Hmm.
again, man, I'm like, I did all this other cool stuff too. Why you asking about the music video? Which was super cool, by the way. But
Yeah. I mean, what I mean? People always remember what was most impactful to them too, man.
yeah,
And especially music videos, man. Music videos back in the day, man, so impactful. Oh
and it's
man.
a different audience too that watches is that she has, um,
Hmm.
which is always so funny to me. Just because the space that I live in, but it's yeah, she has a different audience. And but yeah, I just thought about it. I'm like, people always ask me about this music video and not any
Hmm.
of the stage stuff I did. None of them. They like, yo, was you in the music video? I'm like, yeah, that was me.
Yep. Yeah, that was me.
But yeah, man,
Yeah.
that's put my head down and grinding, and you look back and you're like, yo, I did do that. But I'm saying that to say I'm proud of you, man. Just pushing forward. This is season what we in?
We're in season 5 now. We're
We in season 5.
well over well over 100 episodes recorded. And yeah, I mean it's been a journey since I started this thing by accident. Um, and season 5, we started this thing in 2020 and we still rolling. Lots of great, incredible guests like yourself, and having
I
these
appreciate that.
real, thoughtful conversations, man. And that's what it's about. You know what I'm
I
saying? So
appreciate
I
it.
appreciate you, dog. Um,
Of course, anytime. And like I said, I want to make sure that I'm on here supporting the platform, making sure that maybe we're having these type of conversations people need to hear. Um, and again, man, I listen to stuff like this in the gym when I'm working out. I just listen to podcasts. I listen to interviews and stuff like that. People
mhm,
just dropping gems and speaking from the heart, even if they're not dropping a gem, man, just speaking with that honesty and the authenticity, man. And that's the thing that
mhm,
cuts through when you see people are genuine and that this is their soul speaking. This is what they really feel. And it's not
mhm.
scripted. I didn't even know he was going to ask before I came on here.
Nope.
So
Unscripted, man. That's how I like it. You never know.
yeah,
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 but
man.
appreciate you, dog, man. Keep doing your thing, man. Proud of you, man. And listen, everybody, please go follow. If you need any kind of fitness, you already know what to do. Don't tap in with me. Definitely tap in with Jamal. He gonna get you right. I'm gonna get
Get
you
you
fat.
right.
You know what I'm saying? So definitely, and if you involve in any projects with acting or anything like that, man, hit my guy up, man. You're not gonna be disappointed in the casting, man. But this has been another episode of Conversations of the Heart. As always, it is your boy T Till. We will see you soon. Peace.